Hello all, Captain JJ here, and I'm here to present you with the first round of the GTWS Manufacturers Series first round at Catalunya National Circuit. If you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified of all my YouTube doings. Now we're going straight back to the video. First round at the Catalunya Circuit with the Group 4s this time round, and this is the second and last race that I did. The first race was a little bit slower, and second time round I messed up qualifying, which is why I'm down in 9th. Now the tactic is to pit at the end of the opening lap, but that didn't quite happen. I made a mistake, and then I was helped wide by the Ford, which enabled me the half-second time penalty, which I wasn't happy about. I got a half-second time penalty for being forced off the track, and I made a mistake trying to go in the pit lane. The intention here was to pit on the end of the opening lap so I could get clear air, but it didn't happen. Now, as you notice, the Ford was annoying both me and the Scirocco, so we decided just to take matters into our own hands. The Scirocco did that, and that helped do that, helped finish them off. Sometimes you got to get your elbows out at this point in order to make sure you actually do things all right. So now we're coming under pressure here from Chris, who is actually a little bit faster. The Toyota is slightly quicker in a straight line than the Ferrari. The Ferrari is not exactly the best car on a straight line, despite its good cornering ability. There you see Chris trying to get up the inside. Oh, there's a bit of a touch, while I hold on to the outside line, which will then turn into the inside line for the left-hander, and I just about hold on to 8th. Now I bottled qualifying, which is why I was so far down. I was expecting to be like top 5, but it didn't quite happen, unfortunately. I did one race earlier where I ended up 3rd, which ended up with me with 255 points, but I decided to go again. And this time I do enter the pit lane, but I made 2 mistakes there. One was cutting the chicane, which didn't help me in any way stretch of the imagination. And the other one was that I just touched, didn't get fully into the pit lane before the white line occurs, which means I'm going to have a few problems when I exit the pit lane. Now, for this race, it was 1 mandatory pit stop, and no tyre compound would need to be changed because of the way the tyres were worn out. So all you have to do is just basically go into the pit lane, stop at your marks, which is just about to happen in a couple of seconds, and then go again. Okay, so you stop and go. So as I exit the pit lane, it turns from 1 to 4 seconds because of the pit lane crossing the white line. You get 3-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line, which drops it all the way back down to 15. So effectively I lost around about 6 or 7 seconds. We fast forward a bit where I make exactly the same mistake as I did on the previous lap, and I cut the corner of the very immobile chicane, and I get myself another half-second penalty. So this has been a fantastic start, hasn't it? Partly self-inflicted and partly not. Following lap, I do serve the time penalty. And now you see those 5 cards in front of me? Yeah, that's how much time I've lost, basically. I've lost anything between... I lost about 8 seconds, something like that, with those penalties now occurring. So now we're going to fast forward a bit to the end of the 6th round, where I do eventually catch up with Tom, who I know pretty well from doing the daily races, and also Daffin, who I know well from the Nation Series. Both of them got half-second time penalties for cutting the corner. They did exactly what I did earlier. So now we cut across the lap 7, where we see Tom is just about to serve his half-second time penalty. Same with Daffin in front. Now I am going to get ahead of Tom here, but I'm not going to be able to get ahead of Dan, so that will have to wait until a little bit later on in the race where I can actually get a little bit closer to him, which is going to be what's going to be happening in the next clip. At the very end of the lap, I do actually catch up with the McLaren. So going around that fiddly chicane around the final corner, we do catch up with him, and now because we're so far behind, we've got to take the opportunity as it comes. So try and force the issue here. It's a tight hairpin here, so I look it up the inside. It leaves me space. I've got the line, and then it starts to get a little bit iffy here. Tried to turn in across, it doesn't quite happen. I thought I was more enough up the inside. It didn't happen though, so I'm forced back down to 13th and then have to back out for the corner, which will enable the Tom in the silver to actually catch back up again. Now the silver's better on the straight line than the Ferrari, and the McLaren going defensive, so I have to go to the outside line and make sure Tom doesn't overtake me. But also note very carefully the McLaren track extension you just saw there, and it's going to get a little red rectangular shape underneath its timer. There we go, the name has got it. Half-second time penalty for ignoring the track limit. So I realise at this point I don't have to attack in the chicane. I don't want to waste time, don't want to spoil each other's races prematurely. So through the Mickey Mouse chicane, which I do not like, hardly anybody likes it, it changes the flow so badly, but we have to deal with it with this version. Hopefully in a future update those chicanes will be removed from all versions and we get a little faster section hairpin in the last section. You get what I'm on about. So up to 12th now. We fast forward to the end of the lap where we are going to be describing what would be my fastest lap of the race. Also note, Dan gets another half-second time penalty for track extension. So we go down to start and finish straight, looking at the 100-meter board. And so we're going to turn right into a hairpin. It's cambered, so the lines will be different. I tend to take a tighter line to go to try and get myself as right as possible for the left and the right chicane. And it's vitally important to get the exit right here because it continues your momentum all the way down this section. So make sure you don't extend the track through the right-hander. Now down the back straight. We're going up to a first gear hairpin instead of going a little bit further on. It's very easy to mess up your braking point here. And I just about managed to get that done. No track extension. And then the left. And then along right. It tend to do a V-shaped route, but I keep it tight on the curb. Let the car run wide, and then now we're going to the tight right, and then the fiddly chicane. Also, fun fact, MotoGP actually had another chicane just a little bit further up, but it was deemed too dangerous, so they reverted back to the F1 chicane. I mean, until 2018, when they managed to sort the runoff area, which allowed MotoGP to use the fast double right-hander, which F1 started to use in 2023, like a few weeks ago. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit further on now, while everybody else makes their pit stops. Some of them will go further into the race than others, while some of them started off early, got pitting early. Chris is pitting in now, but because I was able to consistently lap in the 14s in comparison to everybody else, in comparison to Chris, I have a sizable gap over him. Silver is in the Scirocco behind me because they got held up as well on what turned out to be the Ford messing about with the pair of them. So because of my consistent lap times, able to lap quickly as well, it enabled me to jump ahead of the pair of them. So we're now fast forward again to the end of lap 19, where the gap is continuously trying to close between myself and what would be 7th, 8th and 6th, 7th and 8th, my apologies. What I didn't notice here was Racer picking up a huge time penalty there. Turned out he too messed up the pit entrance. Did exactly what I did, crossed the Y line, and 3 seconds gets added to your time. Fast forward again to lap 21, and you saw by the length of that straight the scale of the problem of messing up on the first lap. Yeah, you get the idea. Shows how much time was lost there. And yeah, we're going to have to continue onwards. Only the leader has pitted now. The second place driver, who was the leader beforehand, pitted in the lap earlier. Clear track in front. That's what you do. We fast forward again to the very next lap. Still in the 14s, but we also notice, someone's having the spin and the silver in the BTCC Tribute livery used in, well, really, 97 through to 99. Sick livery. Brilliant livery for the BTCC Nissan. But it's not doing much good here. So me now up into 7th position. And still trying to catch up with the 5th and 6th place drivers. Have been catching up with them. Tyre wear is not going to be an issue. Also notice the Ferrari might have a time penalty there. So we've got to keep as close as possible to Dialect. The Croatian in front of me. Yep, there's a penalty marker there. Please be sure I don't get one either. You also notice Dan and Tom in the background. That showed how much of a gap I managed to pull out on them once I got ahead of them. So we're starting now the final lap of this race. Can I get past the Ferrari on the outside? Yes, I can. Now up to 6th. Top Ferrari in this race now. After all the problems I had, I'll take that to a certain degree. So we're in 6th now. This room was more highly rated than the first room which I did. It was like 324 points for a top, but I'm currently 6th at the moment, which is worse than my previous race, but will and also be slightly worse than the points front, which will be unfortunate. So we've got Joggies even. I do apologise if I said the name wrong earlier. Going down the straight for the final tyre. I am closing in ever so slightly here, but I'm not going to have enough time to catch up with him. I overshot the hairpin there as well, missed the apex, so that's going to cost me even more time. You see how much I'm closing in on the silver. Quicker car in a straight line, the better car overall than the Ferrari, but I have tried my best here. Going around the final section now, just make sure I don't cut the chicane, just keep it safe. And I do that, found the final corner we go, and it is eventually going to be safe. That gave me 251 points in the end in comparison to my third 255. So the 251 was the one I counted as it was the last race I did. Not ideal, but it sometimes happens. But I've just got to go with it. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section below, share the video out. I wasn't available for round 2, which was at Austin, so the next round will be round 3 at Sardinia. So please do join me for that with the Group 3s. Streams will be going on as usual, but until the next video, hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye from me.